Okay. Okay. Here we go. Today is the day when we will, well, well, I'm going to answer your questions that you submitted to me pre-recorded earlier or live going on. I'm not having any theme music today. That's probably why I was messing up my flow a little bit because the theme music usually gets me going. But today, no time for it because the questions that you guys asked are great ones. And I am not sure I will be able to get to them all before the time is up. You know, I like to keep these around 30 minutes anyway. That's your boy, Coach Vic. Glad to be here with you, certified land investor. As always, whether you're hearing this live or recorded, let me know if you can hear me, you can see me okay. I just want to make sure everything is going to look good. Everything looks, um, everything sounds good, you know, all the rest. So let's jump into it because right now, as I said, we got a lot to go over. And I want to make sure I give everything the proper time and attention that it needs. So let me minimize my Facebook window so I don't get distracted. First question, jumping right into it. Back up. What are my best tips for scheduling land investing into a busy schedule? Well, I am glad you asked because this is a very personal topic near and dear to my heart because I often struggle with this because it's so easy to go one of two ways. One, get really lazy because land investing is pretty simple, or get so caught up in the weeds that you kind of stop doing what's important and you do a lot of busy work. I've also noticed, and this is going to be a repeating theme, when I try to schedule a lot of stuff or I plan a lot of stuff, it looks good on paper, but life doesn't necessarily work out the same way that I planned it to. So then once that happens, oh shit, how do I recover? What do I do? Is a whole day shot because something else came up. I had to put out a fire or, something took longer than expected. So let me ask you this. Do you want to get into land investing, but you don't feel like you have the time to dedicate to it? So you're new to this and you like the idea, but you're like, you know what? This seems like it takes a long time. Or do you like the idea of buying land for pennies on the dollar, but you aren't sure if you can figure out how you can learn it quickly enough or if it's going to take a long time to get to the point where this stuff pays off? Well, guess what? I do remember feeling that way, and this is how I really started to change my approach to this business. When I first started land investing, I had a full time job. I was a software engineer, and the software engineering profession doesn't, depending on where you work, you may not have a lot of free time because if you start to climb the ranks, you have a lot more meetings and planning and things like that. When you're younger, you got to look good and you got to always have your head down in coding or looking stuff up. So having a free time to go and take a phone call or to, whatever it is can be tough because let's be honest, most of the things that we do, we can figure out ways around how to be efficient and not, but there's certain things that it's just tough because you're not necessarily on your schedule, or so I thought. So when I was working a full-time job, I'm like, look, my job pays well, but I think this land thing could be better. I still didn't know how to make it better, but I was doing my best. But this is what I came to realize, especially with the help of a mentor. Shout out to Ken Dinkins. He showed me so much. First, I had to go down and write down all the different things that took up a lot of time in my business. So I want you guys to write this down. See what's taking up the most amount of time. I'm not saying it has to be, everything has to be equal, but I listed out a couple of things and I actually wrote them down again. So answering calls to buy property, that took a lot of time because you're having conversations, right? And then they came at random times. Going to the post office to mail deeds and all that. Going to the bank to get cashier's check. Just like the fact that you have to leave your house or your office or wherever to go to the bank and or post office, that's time consuming because again, you're leaving the house, you're getting in a car, you're driving, you're waiting in line, you're talking to the teller, you're doing all these things, right? Um, Answering calls for sales because people when they want to buy or sell property from you, they're going to call you when they can call you. They're not going to necessarily just do it, at a time that you find convenient. And then getting deeds notarized. To get a deed notarized, you got to go to your bank. You can go to a UPS store. You just got to go somewhere. So looking back, I was like, hey, well, what can I do? Because My office is here. You know, what's nearby, what's not, what can I do? So I realized that, well, going to the bank, and I'm stuck with that. I can't get a cashier's check anywhere else. And the reason why I use the cashier's check is because it protects me. If you're working with me, we're investing together. You know why, and I explain that, you know, if as we get a closer working relationship. But you know, it does protect you. It protects everybody involved. Also, I realized going to the notary, that's something that maybe you can do online, but not all counties accept an online done notary. So I'm like, all right, but what can I control? I can't control when people call me, but I can control when I return their phone calls, and I can control um, if I need to return their phone calls. So for this conversation, I'm just going to focus on that. Now, there's a lot of efficiencies that you can do for the other things I mentioned, like the post office and things like that. But since the phone was the thing that took up the most time, especially when I was working, that's what I focus on. And back then, I hated not being able to just like pick up the phone when someone called, because I was like, boom, a deal's coming. If I strike while the iron is hot, I can make it happen now. If I let this go to voicemail, who knows what could happen during that time, especially if they're looking to purchase property. Um, I hated not being able to just dial deals on demand, because when people are calling, again, that's the deal that's happening. And if I don't have control over when people are calling or anything like that, then it's a problem. So here are the two options I came up with back then, and it's still the two options now. One, I can hire somebody to be my intake and you know, or hire a person or two to be my acquisitions and then sales. So maybe one acquisitions person and one salesperson. So the pro of that is that you can actually hire somebody that's going to be better than you at doing that. And so not only are you freeing up your time from the phone, but you're getting an expert or a potential expert to handle that part of the business for you. So it means with an expert, there's a lot more deals that are happening, more yeses are happening, more people looking to sell property at a price you like, and more people buying from you at a price you like. So if you get a good salesman, sales or saleswoman, salesperson, and you get a good acquisition person who's also basically a salesperson, then you're going to get more business. So that's that. Another pro for having that is that you can actually scale your business when you hire people, because now after a little bit of training and what you're trying to accomplish, you can like just let them do that and focus on that, so then they can handle a lot more of just doing one thing than a person who has to, you know, you the business owner who has to do, you know, okay, I got to handle the call, then do the due diligence and write the deed and do it's too much. It's too much. So you can, it's hard to scale because you can't duplicate yourself unless you do hire somebody. But the cons are, not only is it expensive, but if you don't pay the salespeople well, because you're just not having a lot of like deal flow happening, they're going to leave. They're going to be unsatisfied. And they're going to leave. They need to make their money too, and they feel that their services can be useful elsewhere. So there's that. I didn't have that option at the time because I didn't have enough to pay somebody, nor did I want to. And at the time, I wasn't thinking big. I wasn't thinking big than I am now. So this year, I probably will get someone to help me out. Um, hey, if you want to help, you think you're good at sales, let me know. I'll bring you in. I'll bring you into the company. Anyways, um, the second option I had was to be more efficient with everything that I've done, especially my time. So if I'm more efficient, I can scale a bit. You know, I can scale a bit because I'm basically doing more with less. So the same amount of leads are coming in, but instead of some of them getting away or, you know, having them change their mind because of just the lack of time that it took to get back to them or whatever, now I can actually have somebody, or I can just make sure I take care of those. And I'm getting a lot more yeses or nos, but at least I know it's not going to happen, and I'm not worried about them. So it's one less thing to be on my plate. It could be more work, and but for the amount of calls I was getting, basically low to medium amount of calls, it's probably the best option in my opinion. So how did I start to basically be more efficient? Well, first, I started to funnel all of my calls that was pure people selling me their property to a number, and that number had a voicemail with very specific instructions. With those specific instructions, as well as specific instructions when I actually contacted a person in the first place, be it from a letter, text message, or whatever, people kind of segregated themselves in and out. Those who were serious, they understood exactly what was about to happen and they were ready to go forward. Those are the people I wanted to get on the phone with. Those who are like, we're too far apart on price or this and that, they were weeded out. I made a note to contact them again later, but in general, they weeded out. So I knew I didn't have to waste my time with them. Next, once they got those specific instructions, they left a voicemail, and then from there, I can decide when to call. Now, for me, there is a time in the morning where I'm most productive when it comes to this. I live on the West Coast as well. A lot of the properties I have are for people who live in the central time zone or Eastern time zone. And so if when I'm on my game, I can talk to people in the morning when I'm ready. I've noticed for me personally that after I work out and then I eat, I don't feel like talking to people anymore. I'm tired. I want to just kind of put my head down and kind of work on the computer, do things that way, and then watch YouTube and fart around on the internet. Knowing that, I schedule my times to call people back, especially if they're looking to purchase land for me. And let's say at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. or whatever, Pacific Standard Time, because that's when I know I'm going to be at my best. And during that time, I have a list of people that I need to call back, and I just start calling them back. Not everybody's gonna be able to answer the phone when I'm calling them back. I totally understand that. Hopefully, I can leave a message and get back to them. But in general, I'm gonna have to keep calling these people every day. And now if there's a deal that's really, really, really sweet, from listening to the message, seeing the notes I have on the property, then I'll go back and see if I can call them again in the afternoon or maybe the evening. That's pretty rare for me, but in general, I like to do that. Now, here's the thing: if they call me first, I return the phone call. They can't answer, but they call me back after the period I want to talk to people. Most likely, if I recognize the number, I will pick it up because that means they're ready to go. And unless I am busy doing something else, I'm like, okay, it's go time. Let's do a deal. And usually that's when deals happen and I can make everything go on. So that's the first thing, being more efficient with my time. Now, the hard part for me personally is making sure I call everybody back because it can be easy to call someone back, they don't call you back, and then try again the next day or in 2 days or whatever the interval should be. And that's how you lose deals. So there's like a whole list of deals I have that I need to call people back if I want to make, certain revenue targets, and I haven't because I'm like, well, shit, it's been a couple months. But then I just told you guys about recently when there was a deal on the table that lasted for a year. They wanted a certain amount. I wasn't willing to pay that. A year later, I come back like, I'm willing to pay that now. I'm like, okay. So let that be a lesson to myself. You don't have to rush. You don't have to rush. It's better to rush. Or money loves speed, so it's better to go faster. But because you never know, they might sell to somebody else, or something else may happen. Now the property's unavailable, so you don't want to do that. So that's when it comes to acquisitions. I be very specific. I let people funnel themselves out. I only talk to those who are ready to do something and understand what they're getting into. Everybody else I don't talk to. It's a waste of my time. I'm not here to convince anybody to sell me their property. They either want to sell or they don't. And that's the power of doing proper research. That's the power of finding those um, buyers that are kind of more, what's the word I'm looking for? Or excuse me, sellers that are more like, I wouldn't call them desperate, but just more motivated to sell. And when you only deal with motivated sellers, there's so many out there, you're going to do okay. You just got to make sure you take advantage of those people. Again, it's easy for life to get in the way for you or the seller and forget that you're actually trying to help them out there, and this and that, but stay on top of it. Now, when you're doing those things, excuse me, no, I'm gonna take that back. You try to do that with sales, it doesn't work as well in my experience because people need more guidance. When they're selling you the property, it's easier for you to just kind of do everything. There's not much for them to do. But when you're trying to sell a property to somebody else, they need more guys because a lot of people don't buy property that often. They're nervous. They're used to having real estate agents and all that handle all the work. It's just a lot. So you have to be more proactive. So now instead of just having people or just talking to people during a certain time of day to get acquisitions, now I kind of budget my time a little bit to answer phone calls or return phone calls at different intervals. So if I'm not able to pick up a sales phone call, and it's a different number for sales than it is for me to purchase, um, I make sure I try to call them back as soon as I can. I saw something with Billy Jean Marketing. He's saying that they have the most success when they actually contact a lead as soon as they put an inquiry in. And so I've been actually testing it. As soon as I get an inquiry in, I fire off a text and or email. And if I can, I'll give them a call. And usually it's been pretty good because I get something one way or the other. And that way I know whether I should follow up or this lead is no good for now and maybe hit them up with the next property I have in the area. So far, so good. So that's something you may want to try. If you're able to, go ahead, hit somebody up. Now, if you can't, try to hit them up as soon as you can, because the longer it takes for you to recontact these people that are looking to buy property from you, the harder or the longer it's going to take for you to sell. So you got to, again, strike while the iron's hot. So first off, what I had to do is be more specific with my ad copy. And I want to say things that's going to repel tire kickers. So that way I'm getting less phone calls from people who are just asking bullshit questions. That's the first thing. Next, those who aren't really ready to buy, but they're kind of like, let me, dip my toe in. I have prepared things like my website page that I have for the property that I can send them that will answer most of the very basic questions I know they're going to ask. Can I put a mobile home on it? What about the water situation? How do I get power? Has it been developed? All these other things. Easy questions. Put them on the website, throw some pictures on it. Boom. Here you go. Look at this. Let me know. Put a link to Google Maps on it. So you're like, hey, if you need driving directions, this webpage will tell you everything you need to know. And here's the beautiful thing. That page is pixeled. So that way, anytime that someone goes to that property, or excuse me, goes to that page to check out the property, I'm giving that data to Facebook so I can find more people just like them. Hopefully they buy. And then that way I can actually target more people faster. And that answer or that will come in handy with the next question we're going to answer. But anyways, with that, I repel tire kickers. I give the people who aren't ready just some basic information to help them take that next step forward. Those who are closer, I start to talk to them via text or email or whatever, as long as there's a conversation happening where I can easily do it, boom, 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 file for text and just be on my way. That's great. Now, if they're ready to go to purchase, then I get them on the phone. So before I used to just answer any phone call willy-nilly. And now I kind of don't do that as much. I funnel people through a certain path. So it makes it easier for me. Now, here's the thing. You don't really know if they're that serious, but I will say if they actually picked up the phone to call you, normally they're pretty serious and they're only one phone call away. So it's like, hey, is it still available? I want to check it out. Yes, please do. Okay, I'm gonna go let you know how it is. And then if they don't call back, I make sure I try to get a hold of them and see what they're thinking. But yeah, that's usually how I kind of carve out my time. And doing that, I save myself a lot of time. So basically, those processes I laid out, I basically say, hey, only people who are serious that's going to help me make money or I'm going to talk to on the phone. Everybody else, I'm going to use communication techniques that are digital, easy, replicable. I don't have to be there to do. And I'm going to let that handle it and then let only those who are serious ready to contact me. Doing that alone saves up a ton of my time. Saved a ton. The key is to be consistent with it, though. It can be very tough to keep track of leads. And so that's when you have different tools that does automate the process. So you can get a CRM, you can build one with like Zapier or Zapier, or if you're like me, a software engineer, you just build it your damn self. But so there's ways, but as long as you keep all the leads and you keep track of them, whether they're buying property from you or you're selling it to you, you got to make sure that you're staying on top of that and only talking to those who are serious. Now, there's other ways that you can optimize a business, but those are the two things that I found that really, 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 really helps to schedule things in, and it gives me a life back. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me know in the comments. Did you find that useful? If that's something that you can apply right now in your land investing business. If like what's one of the takeaways that you got from what I've done or what I currently do? Let me know. Let me know. And if it's helpful, I can give you guys more details on that. If that's not helpful, then forget about it. All right, next question. How do I stay on track to meet my revenue goals or profit goals? Well, that's a good question, but it's kind of hard to answer because here's the thing. What do you mean by staying on track? So is it staying focused on your goals and just doing the work? And if that's what it is, so basically, if it's just staying focused, it's trying to figure out the best times I'm most effective. So when it comes to talking to people, as I said, it's in the morning. Well, I still want to do it. If I wait till after I work out and I eat, I'm a little sluggish and tired. I don't feel like talking to people. So that's not going to help me stay on my goals if I'm like, now I'm thinking about calling a person back to buy property from them and I'm thinking it's a chore. I'm going to avoid that because my mind sees it as pain. And as humans, we always do things to avoid pain. So finding scheduling things and finding out when I'm most effective doing certain things is going to be the key. Also, offloading some of that work to somebody else or something else helps stay on track. But if that's not what you mean, and you just mean like from sales, well, here's the thing: revenue planning and all that is similar to how I plan out how I want to handle my day or how my day in general. So back in the day, I mean, shit, it wasn't even that long ago. A few months ago, I was just getting deals wherever I can get them. I'll send mails. I'll get people calling me. I was just handling things, right? Just like, hey, there's a deal here. There's a deal there. Great. I'm gonna take what I can get and I'm gonna run with it. But that leads to one of those like feast and famine types months where you're like, one month you bought a bunch, so now you're running low on money. So you're like, oh shit, I need to sell. And you sell a bunch and you're feeling good. You're making all this money. And you're like, oh shit, now people are asking me for more land. I don't have any. So then you're trying to kind of kickstart the process. And people that you say, hey, I'm going to buy your property, just give me a couple of weeks or a couple of days or whatever. You try to call them back. They're not picking up your phone calls. So it's a mess. It's a mess. So this is what I do now. First, I plan my budget. And at first it was a single lump of sum, like, hey, I'm gonna use this much for land, have this much left over for the acquisition part, like, different fees and all that shit. And then another part like, hey, this is how much for my bills. And that's okay. It's not bad. But I realized personally, I want to do a lot more bigger deals now, bigger cash deals. So instead of making, 2,000, 3,000 per deal, I'm looking to make 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 per deal. So that means I don't have to work as hard, right? Same amount of effort to do the research and all that. It's just the money amounts are different. And because my goals are different, I'll only need less sales and less deals. But as I said before many, many times, you can't necessarily just do big deals all the time because there's going to be a lot of small deals because there's just more smaller plots out there. And a lot of those are easier to buy and sell. So that's what we call the bread and butter deals. Boom, boom, boom. You get them, you sell them quick, you're done with it. Those are like the bills or the things that will pay your bills. The bigger the bigger deals are the ones that fund the business. They pay off big chunks of debt. They do whatever you need them to do, but you still need a big reserve of cash so you can go after said deals. And you need another reserve of cash for the smaller deals that just come up randomly. You mailed to someone 4 months ago, they finally getting back to you, all that. So that's what I do now. Now with that budget, that makes things easier because look, if I go through that budget quickly, like say through the first week, then now I can only focus on sales. And obviously, you're only going to make revenue if you're making sales. But it also happens that if you don't do the proper research, the research that I teach when the people who are investing with me, it's maybe harder to get those sales, at least for the money that you want, because you're not buying what the people want. You're not buying what's hot. You're not buying what's going to sell quickly. And if you're not buying that, then you're not going to be making a lot of money. So then that's when you're holding on to property 4 and 6 months because you got a piece of shit that nobody wants. Or you have something that people could want, but because you didn't do the research, you're selling it for much too high of a price. And because of that, you're feeling like, oh damn, I got a piece of land that nobody wants. That's not true. So the key for me personally is budget. Have a pot of money for larger deals and a smaller pot for smaller deals. Let the smaller deals fund that smaller pot and the bills. Let the larger deals fund that. So let's say I have a pot of like $8,000, I'll use that for a large deal. Hopefully, I can use that for one property or two or whatever. So I can double that 8,000 to 16,000 or something, just for the sake of example. And then I can also focus on the smaller lots. Spend. Let's say I have 3,000 in that. Spend that 3,000 on a handful of lots, 2 lots, 3 lots, whatever, and turn that 3,000 into maybe 9,000 or something, and hopefully within a month. And the key to that is if you spread things out. Because if you have everything in the same area, it's going to be hard to sell all at the same time unless you find a buyer that's willing to buy all your lots at once. It happens, so it's not like impossible, and it's not like super rare. But in my experience, it's easier to sell different lots in different locations because you have different pools of buyers, and then so things can take their own time. But if you do it properly, you'll have that. Now, here's the thing. If you do not replenish your budget with sales from the other things that you bought from the budget earlier in the month or whatever, then you don't buy more land. You kind of can't. Otherwise, you'll leverage yourself too thin. You know, it's a balancing act. Eventually, the budget like you have will become bigger and bigger and bigger, so you don't have to limit yourself. But when you're first starting, you have to be disciplined enough to be like, okay, I'm only going to spend three grand at the most on smaller lots and 5 grand at the most on bigger lots. You can't you can't go over that, because if you do, that's how you over leverage yourself, and that's how you start to panic and you start doing things, making rash decisions out of emotion. But when you do that properly and you start to spread things out, so you're getting sales from this area, or if this area goes slow, this area is going starting to pick up, right? So like you have a property in Nevada, no one's buying it, but your property in Texas is doing well right now, so you're still getting money in. And then the properties in Texas are all gone, or people stop caring, and now the Nevada ones are starting to get hot, right? You're always gonna have money coming in, and then you use that to fund other deals of a similar help. So small deals can fund small deals, larger deals can fund larger deals. And then only like in emergencies when you break the glass, that you take money from the large pot to do the small deals. But um, yeah, so hopefully that helps, because if you're doing that right, then you can start to have more income coming in at a more consistent basis. So, but it all comes with your planning and your budgeting, in my experience, in my opinion. Okay. Oh, and the last thing, the sales follow up, because that's the thing. You're not gonna be able to sell anything if you don't follow up. It doesn't matter what your budget. The more efficient you are with your leads, and this goes back from the first question, the better you're going to do. People got lives going on just like you got a life going on. So it's very easy for things to fall into the cracks. It's very easy for their bench warmer self to be like, I don't know if I should buy land. I don't know if this is the right time. You can't let them talk themselves out of something that's going to help them. It happens all the time. So that's why you got to make sure you come up, you follow up those leads, and you got to keep coming up at them until they say yes or they say no. If they say yes, great, you made some money. If they say no, great, there's one less person to worry about. You can focus your attention on others. But there should never be a lead. You're like, oh shit, I forgot about them. When I have that, and that happens to me a lot, then I wonder, well, why ain't no one buying my land? At one point, I thought I couldn't keep it on the shelf for long enough. Now I'm stuck with it because I didn't follow up with leads. People who didn't have the money who have it now, and I forgot to check with them. So that's my fault. So please be efficient with your leads. Go all the way through. And then at one point, and someday you might be able to do what I'm trying to do, is after you're selling property, like, hey, you need some solar panels, you need a battery setup, you need, some kind of water system, help them with their homesteading or the whatever goals that they have. And hopefully you can, make a lot more money from them, but at the same time, you're helping them achieve their dream. Sure, so another $1,000 for you to sell them some solar panels, but now you're helping them be self-sustained for the rest of their lives. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win. And a lot of people do need help with these things. So if you know things about that, or you don't mind learning, something to do, but be efficient with your leads. Do as much for them as possible, give them as much value as you can, and they will treat you right. All right. Shit, running out of time. All right. I only got one more question. How do I negotiate when someone says the price is too high for that location and they live in the area? So I guess the person is saying, hey, I'm trying to sell the property. A prospect is saying, well, I don't like the price you have. I live in the area. It ain't worth that. So the first thing I would say to this person, if they were telling me the property ain't worth that, it's like, well, what are you basing that off of? Is this an emotional decision, or are you a realtor or another land investor in the area? And they're like, well, I just live in the area and I look at prices. Okay. So am I the highest price in the area? Is my price so expensive that I'm the top price? No one has a lot similar to mine that is paying more. And sometimes that could be the case, right? And you're like, okay, great. Well, guess what? You could be right. And this is what I tell them. You could be right. I do feel that the price I'm offering this is a good value, but the market will let me know. And if you're right, then you're right. Now, I say that because a lot of people want to hear that. Does it matter if this person's right or not? No, I don't care. As long as someone buys it and I make my margins, I don't really give a shit. Sometimes the price I put out there is a guess. So they could be right and they could be helping me out, or they could be wrong. A lot of times people are wrong because they don't know. They base things off of emotion and gut feeling. They didn't do the research, right? So that would be the first thing I say. The next question I may ask, or I may ask instead of saying, "How do you know what are you basing this off of?" Because I don't want to sound confrontational. I would say, "Well, hey, I'm willing to negotiate, but if we do come upon a price today, are you ready to purchase today?" And that usually shuts people up because they're either ready to go. I'm like, "Great, let's make something happen. Cash talks." And personally, I will sell for a much lower price if they have the cash ready to go today, and they make selling to them super easy. I much rather the easy sell and double or triple my money than go for a harder sell where I'm pulling teeth and now I'm not, I'm making a couple more dollars, but at the same time, I'm like frustrated. But most people aren't ready to buy. They haven't been seeing a goddamn property. They're just making assumptions. So if they say, no, well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't done this. I got to get my tax return. I'm like, okay, great. Well, why don't you take care of that? When you have that ready and you ready and you know you want to buy, come back to me and then we can negotiate. But until then, what are you negotiating? You don't know what you're getting. It wouldn't be fair. And usually that shuts people up. That usually shuts them up. So how do you know they're serious? Again, if they're seeing the lot, they're going to see the lot, and they're actually, hey, I'm driving to see it now or whatever, or they've seen it already. They said they have the cash and they're ready to go. If they say I got to get my tax return, I got to see this, I got to check that, then they're not ready. It's nothing wrong with that. It's not ready. Give them some information, stay in touch, but then why listen to what they have to say? They're not paying you money. They're not buying. They're just talking out of the side of their mouth. Maybe they're hoping to talk you out of something that maybe they're just trying to find a deal. Hey, more power to them. Dude, I try to find deals all the time. Now, one last thing. Never forget, too much for one person is just right for another person. Happens all the time. Some people are like, I won't spend that. One of the properties in Alabama is like, I won't give you more than $500. Sold it for 1,700. Same property, different person. So too much for one person is not enough, is just right for someone else. So never forget that. Never let one person's opinion affect good business. Next, um, also people, they say a lot of stuff, doesn't make it true. Kind of goes along with like, well, what are you basing your evaluation off of? Right? The research that you've done, and hopefully you're following my method of research, will help you understand if you have a winner or not. Whether some random person on the internet says, no, I think you should sell it for less, is right or not, is none of your concern. If they want to buy property and sell it for that price, they have all the power to do so. Third, as I said, if they're right and it's, and you have it overpriced, it's no big deal. Lower the price. That's how you find a pricing sweet spot anyway. Sometimes, as I said earlier, I guess I'm like, I think I can sell it for like 6,000. Like, oh shit. Well, people actually they will only pay no more than 4,500. Okay, whatever, 4,500. I only bought it for $1,000 anyways. I don't care. Done. All right. Ooh, that's about 1 minute over. All right, well, that's it for today's questions. Hopefully you found value. Listen, if you found value in this, go ahead and put value. Now, if you want more specialized in help and instruction on how to really get started in this business, or you got started, you bought some lots 3 years ago, you haven't been able to move them, and you need help, hit me up. I'm here to help you guys out. We can figure something out together, right? Don't suffer in silence. You don't want to work with me individually or with the group of investors I have right now. Cool. Ask your questions in the group. And then next time I do a Q&A, maybe I'll answer your questions. But until this is Coach Vic signing out. Hopefully you guys found this valuable. And if you guys like this, I'll do more. I enjoy answering these questions. And it helps me to actually focus on things because it's so easy for me to get distracted by things that don't make money. So I do appreciate these questions and I'm glad to answer them. So other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.